director, Jackie van Beek. Welcome again, Jackie. The actors, Gloria Popata, Jodie Hillcock, David Elliot, and the producer, Aaron Watson. Congratulations, hello Jackie. Thank you. Well, dear Jackie, your first feature actually, and you're working as actress, as writer, as director, you make series and film, so you seem to be very flexible, as a matter of fact.
In New Zealand, we kind of have to do everything because there aren't that many jobs, so you have to be a writer, director, actor, voice artist, everything, script advisor. Yeah,
so I wonder what the others do if they don't appear here in the film. But anyway, so what was the basic idea actually for the story, for the film, for this long feature film?
Well, I started with the idea that I wanted to throw a group of very different characters into the same room after a crisis and see how they related to each other. And so I wrote the film for a teenage Maori girl, a young Pākehā, a white girl, and then an exotic male from Scotland, someone who was foreign and didn't know anybody.
Far Europe.
Yeah. So that was the original idea, and then as I wrote over the years, it became more and more Tia's story, and I realised she was the protagonist and would tell the story through her eyes.
Over the years, that means when did you start to write?
I came up with the idea in 2008. And I've done nothing else since 2008. No, since then I've had 3 children and I've made 7 short films. So
as we know, you're very flexible.
Yeah, so get things done.
So it took a while, and then while filming, while shooting, did you develop? I mean, you had different characters, different actors. Was it a book that was ready by then, or did you develop it by filming a bit more?
Well, I had a script that had to be signed off, of course, so we could go into production, but what was fantastic is we had a 2-week rehearsal process, which is quite a long rehearsal process for New Zealand films sometimes. And it was a low-budget film, so I got all the actors together for 2 weeks, and we just improvised. We didn't use the script. We improvised, and I rewrote every day. And I wrote, so really Gloria wrote some of the lines, and I was just tapping into my computer, and David, Jodie, Chelsea, who played Donna, and especially young Georgia. She wrote quite a few of her lines, and she was so proud. She'd sit there and I'd write them into my computer all about, can I have a fizz, can I have a coffee? That was all her writing. So yeah,
a genius.
I probably should have credited them as writers. Sorry guys.
I really appreciate all the characters. Gloria, you were just great, and it was so interesting to see what's happening in your face. One could read your face and see different stories and just assume what happened to this girl. So what was interesting for you about this role, Taya?
The whole thing. The whole thing was just interesting for me because this was my first time doing acting. And
the first time?
The first time.
Wow.
It was a beautiful process going through that whole experience.
So now you have to tell us, Jackie, how did you find Gloria?
Well, my casting director put an ad on Facebook, so we got 2,000 applications. And then we...
That's why it took so long, yeah. 2008 actually.
And then we chose 330 of the girls to actually audition, and my casting director drove around New Zealand and found these girls and auditioned them in church halls and, you know, community halls. And then I watched about 100 tapes, and Gloria already stood out from those. And then we whittled it down to 14 girls, and that's when I went and met them, and I started auditioning them with the casting director. And I think we ended up auditioning you 4 times, you know, just we really... But yeah, Gloria was always so strong in her audition tapes. She sang Prince, Purple Rain a cappella in the audition tape. I was like, wow, that's so brave.
Unfortunately, it didn't appear in the film.
It's too expensive. It's a low-budget film.
Next film. That's right. Okay, dear audience, time for you, for your questions. We have 2 colleagues coming around with the microphone, so if you have questions, go ahead. Ah, here you are. Okay. So, any questions? Such a big audience, no questions? Please, go ahead.
Not a question, but I love New Zealand, and I think your character really likes the New Zealand people, and I really adore Maoris, and you have brought it very light. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question? Yes, here we go.
I would like to ask you, Gloria, I think it was, if you would do us the favor and sing something for us.
Purple Rain. Maybe together with the others?
Oh, a little bit. Yeah, I don't think I could survive the whole song. I never meant to cause you any sorrows. I never meant to cause you any pain. I only want one time to see you laughing. I only wanted to see you laughing in the purple rain, purple rain, purple rain.
Thank you so much, Gloria. As we know,
Dancing, laughing, it's fun.
as we know by now in New Zealand, one has to be flexible. So, if not an actress, then a singer.
That's right.
Okay, here we go. Another question, please.
I wanted to ask why the film is called The Inland Road.
Ah, that's a very good question. I had in my mind too.
It's called the Inland Road, mainly for the interior emotional journey that Tia goes on, and also because it opens on a remote inland road well away from the coast. Yeah, I didn't want to see any sea in this film, any kind of release. I wanted to keep it very inland and kind of with all those mountains and remote and isolated. Yeah.
It's a metaphorical type of
metaphor. Yeah.
Okay, another question? Yeah.
I'm supposed to sit there. Hello, I really enjoyed your film. I have one question also to Gloria. I was wondering because the movie is kind of hiding a lot of aspects from the characters, so there's a lot of potential to think into what the characters have experienced. So I was wondering how much actually was given you of information of the biography of your Tia before, or how much could you work into it?
Oh, she actually reminds me of myself. Yeah, so that's why it was easy for me. But she's, she definitely reminds me of myself. Adventurous, free spirit. I look at her as a free spirit. Also lost though, but she's a good person.
But indeed, it's a very good question, Jackie. How, to what extent did you create biographies for all of those characters, even together maybe?
I really just, when I wrote, I thought about the relationships between each pairing. So it was very important for me that Lily's function was to unlock Tia, so the little girl opens Tia's heart. This character that Jodie so beautifully played, May, her function was to carry the grief of the story for the audience, and then I had to get rid of her so that Tia could take her place as the mother to Lily. And of course David's character, Will, became the kind of, there was that grey area, that ambiguous love story, I guess, when they needed each other so much as they were the only two survivors of the accident. And then Donna, the other lead character, for me, I figured a lot of the audience would probably see the film through her, because I don't know, my guess was that a lot of women will hopefully come and see this film, and I really wanted her to embody forgiveness and generosity and kindness against all odds, really. So I thought about relationships, and again in that rehearsal process, that's what I looked at, the dynamics between the two. I never looked at a character in isolation.
David and Jodie, we haven't heard you yet, so maybe you can tell us a bit about this rehearsal situation, and how did you create those relationships without knowing anything about the characters itself, as we heard?
Oh, well, it was absolute delight, really. It was an actor's dream, because Jackie, we had these 2 weeks of rehearsal, which is a real treat. You don't often get any rehearsal sometimes. And for the rehearsal period was more like a theatre process, which as an actor is such a treat when you're working on film, to work on these relationships, to have a collective idea about what you want to go, where you want to go. So yeah, and I think Jackie comes from a theatre background, and it was just a real treat, really, yeah.
Let's listen to David. What was his impression of this kind of work process?
Kind of touching on what you said about backstories and things, a lot of that came in rehearsal. We kind of, to begin with, myself, Gloria, and 5-year-old who played, oh my god, I was blank. Georgia, that's the one. Thank God she's not here, just forgot her name. Yeah. We kind of all sat there in a room first of all, and we would discuss where we thought the character had been, their families, and just a lot of different stories, and kind of play. That was a big play space for us to try out ideas on who we thought they were, and Jackie kind of guiding us very much to where she thought the essence of the character was. So we, in a way, instead of some of the homework as an actor you would normally do, which is locked away in a room on your own, writing where they're from, who their friends are, what their first experiences are, whatever, we kind of had that collectively together. So we kind of heard where each other was coming from, and it kind of broke down a lot of the barriers and walls and connected us all very quickly and made it a very kind of safe place. So I mean, the rehearsal process made everything that you saw up there feel very easy to kind of step into, because we'd kind of gained each other's trust in that way by going through every one of those scenes, breaking them down. Also with Georgia, we would draw a lot of the sort of scenes. So we would all kind of sit down and draw them, little cartoons or what have you, of what we're doing. Tia is sad now, you know, why she's sad, and she would be able to engage into that. So yeah, the rehearsals were fantastic, and bonded us all together as well as helped us kind of nail down exactly who the characters were and where they were coming from.
Sounds very intense, though. Well, another question here.
I have a question for David. You have during the story, you have a real crazy cocktail of emotions, and I would like to ask you, how did you get into character?
I drank a healthy cocktail of emotion.
A Scottish one.
In the morning with my porridge. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I had the springboard from one of the first introductions in the script, in the very first script I read, the Jackie role, where it said Will is a man drowning in guilt. And just, I don't know what it was about that description, but I just felt every day when we went in, I don't know, but being able to just drench yourself in remembering exactly what had happened. And I mean, I found the opposite of that. I found that a very easy, a dark place to go for me, and like self-loathing and things I do very well for myself. But I found the hard part was, as humans, we have to try and put on a brave face and try and for other people in order to try and move on, to try and lift a room somehow, and then if something else happens, to bring that back down. So the kind of weight of him, I kind of felt, and when you're working with an incredible actress like Gloria, who just hits you like a steam train when you connect there, that was very easy to kind of go into those kind of deep places, and again, it all went back to the rehearsal process too, where we kind of tapped into everything there, and Jackie would just come and give you a little whisper in your ear like, that was shit. She didn't. But she would come and guide you into the scene and remind you of where we'd went within rehearsal, and it was very easy to tap back into that and bring it on the day. So I don't know if I've answered your question, I've just slavered on, but thanks.
Was about the cocktail. Please.
Okay. First of all, I really loved the movie. I really loved all the little moments you brought in there, which I thought really gave the movie its soul. And one of those little moments was in the car, where the two main characters, sorry, I forgot the names, Tia.
We're all doing it tonight, don't worry, mate.
Yeah. And
Tia and Will.
They two were bonding by singing. How did you, well, the question is for Jackie, how did you get the idea to let your characters bond by singing?
Probably just many nights as a teenager getting stoned in cars. That's what we do in New Zealand, isn't it? Run out of petrol.
Not only in New Zealand, I guess.
I find music and singing just a great leveler. It doesn't matter what age you are, what culture you are. It's just such a simple thing, music and song. So I thought, and then I chose, a classic song, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, that of course both these characters are going to have heard somewhere. Something simple, just simple and joyous, uncomplicated.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much for the beautiful movie. I have two questions. One for Gloria. I wanted to know what you said in the car in the Maori language, something about feelings, I guess. And the other one is to Jackie, also about the Maori thing. How important was it to you to put that character as a Maori girl? Has it some meaning in society or just part of the culture? Maybe you could explain.
I actually said I'm going to kiss you, and that's why I kissed him.
Can you repeat it for us?
Pardon?
Can you repeat it for us in Maori?
Kei te kihi o i a koe.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Second question for you, Jackie.
Well, as I said, I was really keen to combine different cultures, and so I really wanted to have a Maori Maori girl, a young Pākehā girl, and then a male from overseas, a foreign element. Also, I associate the North Island, where Gloria's from, as being very Maori, and I set it in the South Island, which is predominantly Pākehā, predominantly white, and I set it in a very kind of white farming town. So I wanted the character of Tia to feel out of place, and even though she was trying to find a family and trying to find a home, that the audience would have a sense that it was unsustainable and that wasn't her real home, and that she would eventually, by the end of the film, be drawn to going back to her people and to her land. Yeah.
Please, your question.
Hi. I noticed that the movie was especially beautifully shot, and I was wondering if there was any thought, or what the thought was behind your choices in cinematography. For example, in the car accident, how you insinuate rather than show the scene, and I was wondering what the process was behind those choices.
Yeah, well, our cinematographer is an Italian man that lives in Australia, Giovanni LaRusso, who is a fantastic artist. And him and I spent a year together on and off. I would go to Melbourne or he would come over to New Zealand, and we would look at references, films, but also paintings and art. And so we really kind of combined our vision. I wanted something that felt very organic and spontaneous and unpretentious, that really was performance-driven. So I talked about that the camera should always follow the actor rather than introduce the shot first and have the actor walk in. In terms of the car accident, I had written a very beautiful, very, very beautiful scene where the car in slow motion rolled off a hill, but we couldn't afford to shoot it. But it suited, I think it suits the film to be quite abstract. And so that's how that came about. But Giovanni and I spent a long time kind of combining our vision. We wanted everything very close and very intimate. And very organic, really.
Thank you so much for sharing with us this night here at the Berlinale. Jackie and her team.
Thank you.
Have a good stay here in Berlin. As I heard, you will stay a few days.
Same to the end, so same films.
After coming such a long way from New Zealand up to Berlin. Thank you for being here. Have a good time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Highland Road.